There's a saying that goes, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. For blacksmith Nicolas Lehmann, it wasn't the heat that drove him from his father's bakery. It was just that dough didn't inspire him as much as the idea of bending copper and steel into art.
I enjoy it that when it's in the fire and it's hot and you take it out, you have maybe 20 seconds to work with it before it starts getting hard again. So you need to know what you're doing, you need to know your processes. Once that 20 seconds is over, it's cast in stone.
Under the watchful eye of a master of the forge from an early age, he soon fell into the rhythm and exacting demands of the age-old craft.
It's said to be very similar to clay when it's at temperature. When you're working with clay and you're pulling it and rolling it, that's the kind of malleability the steel actually has.
It's a medium where earth, wind, fire and water combine to create organic lines. His inspiration comes from nature's patterns and shapes, but much of what springs from this rigid, unpromising rod of metal flows freely from his imagination. It's also physically and financially demanding. If you're keen to take it up, you'll be in for a few solid overheads.
Anvil, obviously, to forge on, your vise, your forge, and your hammer. Those would be the most important tools you would need to start off. Imagination, a lot of hard work, and persistence.
2 tons of raw metal go into the studio, and out of it come delicately wrought household accessories, decorative gates, and ornate balustrades, all with an individual stamp.
It's keeping it as simple as possible, I believe. In the past, the smiths, they never had welding machines and all the fancy equipment that the metal workers have these days. So we go back to those basic things where you're joining 2 pieces of metal together and riveting them together, or collaring them and splitting, and all these fixing methods. And these show off the art of forge work. And sticking to those principles, I believe, are the most important things in blacksmithing.
Much of the work uses muscle power, but a sturdy air hammer that dates back to 1903 pounds out the bigger metal rods. It's an invaluable tool when the commission combines delicate artistry with practical form, like with this staircase.
As you can see here, all the pieces have been nicely forged and riveted. We then topped it with a nice forged handrail and finished it in a beeswax finish, which gives it this bronzy sculpture feeling to it, so it's nice to touch.
Cleverly, no bolts mar the artistic lines. A work of art, and art that works. In contrast, this 1.5-ton door is made of sand-polished stainless steel plates. Nicolas was inspired by the aerodynamic design of a section of aeroplane wing. He also handmade the 12mm glass for the porthole. The
main challenge was portraying the stylish feeling that the client wanted. Its cleanliness, its smoothness, not being too overpowering, but having a very bold statement.
Silently gliding shut on sturdy pivots, the door is superbly crafted and an engineering feat. From an imposing entranceway to work that frames a spectacular view, he designs with a final location in mind. And now and then, nature throws something of a curved ball.
This is one of my ideas I've had for a while, and I've used a popular pole, and we've made brackets around to give it a very organic feeling. The problems on this one has been, because it's not a straight pole, you can see the whole balustrade spiral staircase has a whole twirl in it. So it was, in that sense, also very tricky to make.
Today, the tradition of apprenticing is all but lost, but Nicolas believes in passing on his knowledge and skill. There are new faces in the forge, like assistant Nyongo Madotieni, who has worked with him for just over 2 years.
What I like mostly about this type of work, especially here at the forge, you see, Nicolas just gives us the freedom, you see, to work on, but he just put boundaries, you see. When maybe you go overboard on what you are doing, then he stops you and says, okay, come this way.
And so, in the intense heat, the sound of metal on metal rings out, and with each blow, something of beauty and strength emerges. For us, it's a ladybird, a symbol familiar to those who watch the show's closing credits.
Here's a little gift I've made for TopBilling.
The Newlands Forge is busy. Top architects have discovered the magic of metal, and that their wishes on paper are easily translated into long-lasting and striking design.